If you're at a point where you want to learn Spanish, it's never too late. And you're probably thinking it's impossible. You're hearing people splurting out sentences, syllables and phrases, and you're just thinking, I just don't understand. And in this video, I'm going to go over some tips and things that helped me across my journey in order to speak Spanish. And when I think about it now, I've come a long way. I would never have thought that one day you'd have said to me that I would be fluent and able to speak another language. And I probably would have laughed at you, just even at the possibility of this. So you've probably reached this point where you want to get started, but you just don't know quite where. So initially I thought grammar books would be my first go-to, and I thought they would really help. So I bought loads of grammar books, and what did I do? I got my head down and got in the nitty-gritty of doing exercises. And as I progressed in my Spanish learning journey, I found that the words used and the way sentences were phrased were not necessarily the way that it was spoken when I actually went to Spain. So while yes, it was grammatically correct in terms of what phrases and sentences were used, I didn't find that it was actually helpful in using this in real life situations. It wasn't necessarily spoken the natural way. So what you might find is, just in your own language, that there are certain nuances and phrases that make you sound like a native. So early on in my Spanish learning journey, I found myself in Spain, in Barcelona specifically, in a bookstore. And me loving books, I thought, you know what, let me see what books I can find in Spanish. I went to the children's section. Yes, I know, don't laugh. And I thought this would be a lot more simpler in terms of the language being spoken. And then I found myself looking at short stories in Spanish. And then I thought, you know what, this is probably the perfect combination of level that you need if you're trying to get into learning Spanish. And as I picked up this book and I read through it, I thought, you know what, this would be a perfect way to learn pronunciation, to learn the structure of the sentences, and to learn those little nuances that I said that would be beneficial when you come to learning a language. So here are my set of books, and they're all at a level of A1, as you can see, written by the same author. And these were the books that set me off on my journey. It's been a long time since I've opened this up, but it's actually bringing back a bit of memories of what I used to do. So as you can see, I used to underline and highlight certain words where I thought that was relevant to me. And as you're going through the book, I actually found that this is a great way to actually learn about places in Spain or learn about other Spanish speaking countries. And again, you don't need to get all of these books all in one go. I think I just got 2 or 3, I think, at the start. And these are easily accessible on Amazon. I'll be popping a link in the description if you're interested. Now the next step would be to have a good translation app. Something like Google Translate, which I think is pretty good now. I remember a while ago it wasn't that great, but they've come heaps and bounds since then. And this translation app is not to be used for perfect grammar, but just to be used as an aid. I remember using this just to get the idea of what I wanted to say across. And also there's a great feature which you can actually tap a camera icon. It will then open the camera in your phone and you can point at any piece of Spanish, and that will literally translate in English for you in real time. So I'd recommend getting a Spanish dictionary, and there's an app called Spanish Dict, and this is great for conjugation and finding out the definition of words. And they've also upgraded their app recently where they've got this Duolingo style of type of learning. You can also create lists of words and then create your own quiz in order to learn. And there's also different various interactive grammar lessons. And I've actually noticed they've got a regional section for Spanish accents. So for me, I was learning Spanish spoken in Barcelona. So that would have a different accent as opposed to someone speaking Spanish in Mexico or Colombia. So the next step would be to find someone that you could just read to at least once a week, and this is mainly just for your pronunciation. You're not necessarily learning the words right here. You're literally getting used to forming the words in your mouth, forming the structures, and mainly learning how the pronunciation works. And if you don't have one, I would highly recommend hiring out an online teacher, or if you really want to, in person. And if you're doing it online, the other person doesn't need to have the book. If they're really good, they will actually be able to anticipate what word you're going to say next. Just imagine someone reading to you in English and they say a word, you're more or less going to get the gist of what they're trying to say, and they'll be able to correct you. So if you're wanting to learn conjugation specifically, I'd actually recommend another app called Conju. Now this is a conjugation app on steroids. You're able to create your own verb lists, and it actually produces the words to you at random, so you're not using your short-term memory when it comes to learning. If you're struggling, there's also some aids in order to help you. And I remember at the time when I bought these books, I was so excited. And at the same time, I was doubting myself, thinking, how am I going to be able to do this? But because it's such a small book, it actually gave me a little target to get to. I was able to look at this and say to myself, right, reading this book for this month is my goal. I'm going to get through this book and I'm going to write down all the words and I'm going to learn some of the words in there. And when I found out it was part of the set, it became a sort of game to collect all the books. It was my mission to complete all of them. And when it comes to selecting the words that I wanted to learn within the book, I tried to use words that I found that would be most simple when it came to speaking. If I knew I was going to be wanting to learn directions or different types of foods, a restaurant or anything like that, I would make sure I would try to learn those type of words. And this is all going to be down to you. It's going to be particular to your goals. So it's worth sitting down to think for 2 minutes. If you're going to go over to Spain and use it, what type of conversations are you going to be having? Whether it's talking about a hobby or just introducing yourself or talking about your family. And even once you've read the book, read it again by yourself once you know the pronunciation. Underline some more words that you may think that you want to learn. And when it came to words and verbs and conjugations, once you have all the apps in your phone, always use a bit of my free time. Whenever I was in the queue, I would learn some verbs. I was sitting on a bus, learn some verbs. I'm on the train going to work, learn some verbs. It became a habit of me just wanting to learn every moment I had. So when it comes to learning verbs or any type of words, it doesn't need a huge amount of time. I still do recommend that you set an actual time aside for you to sit down and learn. You can also do it in your spare time also. And then once you start to get some phrases underneath your belt and get them right, and you see the reaction when someone says it to you, this in your mind will solidify that what you're doing is correct. If this is something that you think that helped you, please let me know. Comment below. If you want to see more videos like this, please smash that like button, and I'll see you guys in another one. Bye bye.